Hi, I'm Warren Eley with Eley Hose Reels, and I'm going to demonstrate the assembly procedure for our garden hose reels. Now, every hose reel comes with a very detailed step-by-step instruction manual. Don't be intimidated by the number of pages or the number of steps. The assembly process really isn't that bad. It doesn't matter if you're mechanically inclined or not, you'll be able to put this hose reel together. Having said that, let's get started. The first step is to put the two flange pieces together. The hose reel flange and drum assembly consists of two main components, the front flange and the back flange. The front flange is the one that has the large opening in the flange and also the extruded base for attaching the crank handle. It has 3 holes for aligning it with the back flange, a square hole for the hose strap bolt, and 2 pins or cones for aligning it with the back flange. The back flange has 4 cage nuts and 2 sockets for receiving the pins on the front flange. The 3 equidistant cage nuts are for attaching the 2 flange pieces together, and the 4th cage nut is for attaching the hose strap in a later step. Align the pins from the front flange with the sockets on the back flange and nest the 2 pieces together. Attach the 2 flange pieces using the 3 screws provided. While threading them into the cage nuts, there will be a little bit of play. That is normal. Don't fully tighten them down until you get all 3 screws started. Once all 3 screws are started, then make sure you tighten all 3 down firmly. However, be careful not to over-tighten. Now it's time to attach the crank handle. Using the hex key wrench provided, remove the pre-installed screw from the crank handle's center post. With the front flange facing up, insert the crank handle post into the extruded base from above and insert the screw from below. Thread the screw into the handle. Using the hex key wrench, be sure to tighten down firmly. The next step is to attach the arm to the wall plate. The first thing to do is remove these 2 screws from the arm. Using the large end of the hex key wrench, loosen the 2 screws. Then you should be able to remove them with your fingers. Next, you'll need to decide whether you want to attach the arm for parallel mounting or flip it around and attach it for perpendicular mounting. To attach the arm to the wall plate, take the 2 screws you just removed, feed them through the back side of the wall plate, and thread them into the arm. Don't tighten the first one down until you have the second one started. Then grab your hex key wrench and tighten both screws down firmly. When mounting to a brick or masonry surface, you can mount the reel for either the perpendicular or parallel configuration. To level the wall plate, you can either align it with the mortar lines or you can use a level. Once you have the wall plate positioned, mark each hole with a pencil or marker. On a 5/16 masonry bit, measure 1.5 inches of depth from the tip and mark it with masking tape or something similar so you know how deep to drill your hole. You don't want to drill the holes with a regular drill. You'll want to use a hammer drill. Mini drills have a switch for changing the settings. When drilling into the face of the brick, try and stay at least a 1/2 inch away from the brick edge or corner so as to minimize the risk of chipping the brick. Also, while drilling into the brick wall, you may hit a cavity around 1.5 inches deep. Don't worry if you do, the anchor sleeve bolts will still work as intended and secure the reel firmly to the wall. You can also drill directly into mortar line. You will use the 4 anchor bolts for attaching the plate to the wall. The anchor bolt is made up of 3 main parts, the bolt, the sleeve, and a small cone that threads on the end. If the cone came off during shipping, simply screw it back on snug with the narrow end first. Place the wall plate against the wall and insert the first anchor bolt through the wall plate and into the hole. You'll most likely need a hammer to tap it down flush. Do the same for the other 3 holes. Next, take a 7/16 wrench or socket and tighten each anchor bolt down firmly. However, be careful not to over-tighten. When tightening an anchor sleeve bolt, you're actually drawing the small cone forward towards you. As it's pulled forward, it spreads the sleeves against the walls of the hole, anchoring it in place. You should tighten to a firm, snug fit. Next, feed the male end of the enclosed inlet hose through the axle from the back side until just the fitting shows. Then slide the flange and drum assembly onto the reel. Next, install the cam lever brake by making sure the tab on the brake aligns with the notch in the front flange. Then, pull a little bit more of the inlet hose through the axle so you can attach the brass swivel. Hand tighten firmly. You can use a pair of pliers if you want to secure the connection more firmly. This aluminum collar threads onto this axle. Push the inlet hose back into the axle so you can thread the swivel onto the axle. Now it's time to install the garden hose. From the female end of your garden hose, measure 32 inches and mark that spot on the hose. Place the grommet hose strap over the hose at that spot and insert the hose strap into the rectangular opening in the front flange. Make sure that the flat washer is on the long hose strap screw. Insert the screw through the grommets and begin threading into the remaining cage nut. Use the hex key wrench to tighten the screw into the flange until the hose strap snugs down onto the hose. It may take around 25 to 30 rotations to tighten the strap until snug. It is very important not to over-tighten as you could damage the cage nut. The kink-free spring has a narrow end and a wider flared end. Insert the narrow end into the female fitting of your garden hose. Then feed the hose through the large opening in the front flange and curve it back to the brass swivel. Thread the hose onto the swivel and tighten firmly. Well, there you go. Your hose reel assembly and installation are now complete. If you need any assistance or have any questions, you can visit our website 24/7 or reach out to our customer support team during our regular business hours. Thanks again for your purchase of Eley products. We hope you enjoy them for many years to come.